Okay, so I'm very, very pleased to have today on the podcast after much deliberation and scheduling conflicts, Catherine Bamford. She's the CEO of Bam Legal, and I'm going to let her explain to you what that's about. So, as you know, everyone on this podcast, we like to have people on that haven't taken the straight path. We're all about um, unorthodox approaches to the legal profession. And of course, to let you guys know that it's okay if your journey is not straight, because we're all different people with different interests, personalities, and the traditional place within the profession might not be what is for you, and that's okay. So, in terms of Catherine's area of interest, so she is in legal technology, an area that I have been sort of provoking myself to learn more about, and I've definitely discovered that legal technologists, if I can call them that, are definitely a different species of lawyer. They don't talk about the laws relating to legal to technology, or it's not about defending those laws or whatever, or helping people with cases, but it's about innovation, thinking out of the box, working on stuff behind the scenes, processes, systems, just to make the profession work a bit smoother. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Catherine Bamford, who's on a very tight schedule today. So we're going to pack as much punch as we can into this episode. So Catherine, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. And yeah, it's great to come on and to speak to you about what it is I do and my very non-linear path. So I'm the CEO of BAM Legal. I'm a legal engineer, legal technologist, and more recently, I work mainly with large law firms and in-house legal teams as a legal technology advisor, so helping them choose what technology is right for them for the particular use cases that they want to improve and make more streamlined for their lawyers. I started off my career as a lawyer about 15 years ago now. I was a commercial real estate lawyer, and my path changed, if you like, when I was 4 years qualified, and the law firm that I worked with uh, decided to buy a document automation tool. So for anyone that doesn't know, that's a technology, a software that helps lawyers to draft documents faster by instead of going through and manually uh, filling in details to an example precedent contract document, to instead go through and answer an online questionnaire, which automatically prepares the first draft of the contract for them. So the firm I was working with bought that, and I was just chosen as one of the lawyers in the team to learn how to use it and start to build some of these automations. And I just absolutely loved it. And actually just never went back to being a lawyer. It became my career there for the next 4 years. And then I set up BAM Legal almost 11 years ago now.
Oh, okay. So, just a freak kind of touches, um, and just being assigned to it. I think a lot of us tend to go down that route. We're like, we don't know what we love, maybe until it's put in front of us. And we say, hey, you know what? And even at uni level, sometimes we enjoy a course so much and we say, hey, I want to specialize in this, or I'm really good at this, and I want to do my training contract in that particular thing. So sometimes it's just a matter of that thing being presented to us, and then it just taking off from there. So
You have to always be the type of person that says yes, though. And I
yeah.
think the difference is some people would think, oh, well, this isn't what I do. This isn't in line with my career progression. I'm not going to volunteer.
Mhm.
Whereas I think if you volunteer for, if you're working as a lawyer within a law firm, or if you're studying to become a lawyer, those side projects that you might get asked to get involved in
Yeah.
are such rich experience
Mhm.
and will make you unique and stand out when you do interviews or go for other roles or become a leader of a law firm because you can then lead on those kind of projects and understand as well. So,
Mm.
yeah, I think definitely be willing to put your hand up and volunteer for kind of projects. And you never know, one might turn into something that you didn't expect to become your full-time career.
No, absolutely. I fully endorse that because sometimes you're looking for the big opportunities or making partner or the next promotion. But sometimes just being asked maybe to train some interns, or you might discover, hey, I actually love training and development, or like you're being asked to work on that document automation tool. You say, hey, I actually love legal technology. Those opportunities aren't less important than the promotions and the big breaks, or even transferring to another department or to another firm based on your superior's recommendation. So definitely, those so-called side projects can open a door, as it did in your case. And I'm sure you don't have any regrets in terms of being an ordinary lawyer, leaving that behind, and doing what you do now. So tell me how you made that sort of transition
Yeah.
between traditional legal role and now you are in a fairly new emerging um, field within the legal space.
So for me, when I first qualified,
Mm.
I remember really enjoying my job and the first 2 years of private practice, really enjoying, had a wonderful team. Um, there was good camaraderie between us all. Um, and it was fun. And I was, living that life as a lawyer that I imagined, and it was great. But after a couple of years, there was definitely a bit of a shift, and it was all about the billable hour targets. It was all about making the next step on the career ladder. So I was, a newly qualified, then I was a solicitor. So it was like, right, I need to become an associate. I need to become a senior associate. The goal is then to become partner. And it kind of became like there's a TED talk that I really like by a lady called Molly Graham about the career ladder. And it becomes like a bit of a weird video game. And for me, it was just looking at the next steps and thinking if I do this same thing for the next 20 years, I might become partner. But I was looking at the partners and thinking, that doesn't sound fun or interesting, or um, there wasn't that much. Perhaps I chose a wrong area of law, that it just, once you've done it once, transactional, you're doing the same thing every day over and over. So for me, when I started, dabbling at the beginning with legal technology, I thought there's really something to this. The way law's been practiced for the last 100 odd years hasn't really changed.
Mm.
And technology is the disruptor that is going to change the way we deliver legal services, whether we like it or not. So for me, that was exciting. And suddenly it allowed me the opportunity to imagine again, to be creative again. And when I moved into legal technology within the law firm I was in, suddenly I was in strategy meetings with the managing partner. As a 4-year qualified, the managing partner didn't know my name before in a large law firm. And then also then I was being pitching to some of the firm's largest clients,
Mm.
to be able to offer them kind of legal platforms where we would deliver all of their work through it, and designing. Um, and then other law firms, the type of law firms that, to be honest, I probably wouldn't have been able to get a job as an NQ solicitor in, were suddenly
Mm.
then wanting to talk to me for me to go and do what I'd done at the law firm I was with for
Mm.
then. And enough of those law firms got in touch that I thought there's a consultancy here. So suddenly then, I'm working all over the world with lots of different amazing global law firms, and every project is slightly different. So it's always being creative, which I think a lot of the people that go into law are creative people. They like
Yeah,
solving problems.
yeah,
And suddenly, when you get into practice, you maybe realize that unless you're maybe like a defense litigator, a lot of what you do is the same day in, day out, and you're not getting to be that creative anymore. So it doesn't suit everyone's personality.
yeah.
But there's a huge stigma around, once you become a lawyer, it's like, how do you tell your family that you're not going to be a lawyer anymore, you're going to be a legal technologist? That does not hold the same gravitas, and it's a very difficult thing. It's a it's a persona, it's an ego thing that's difficult change to
Yeah.
make. But I think your own happiness and the next 40 years of your career are more important. So follow those passions, find out what you like, and yeah,
Mm.
don't be scared to move. And financially, there are ways to make sure that it's comparative.
Yeah. I think it's important, I think, for those that are starting out, or they may be sort of just entered and they being the regular lawyer in that traditional role. I think it's so important to start building the bridge, you know. So get involved in things that eventually you're going to jump over. You're going to make the leap. It may not be drastic, like the firm purchasing that tool and you're getting assigned to it. But you see, this role, yeah, I value the experience, but it's not for me. Then I think it's always useful to start building that bridge. To say, I want to get into legal technology, but I've got to build the bridge sort of one brick at a time. And then when that bridge is ready, then I make the transition. And of course, one should never discount traditional lawyering. So there are a lot of transferable skills that, while you may have left the role behind, but it definitely comes into play now, which is what the younger generation sort of tend to just throw it behind them and say, I don't like this anymore. Or I want to, I don't like being a driver for Uber, so I want to become a lawyer. But if you actually stop and think, there's so many transferable skills that being an Uber driver might now, be you can use in your law degree. So being a lawyer is not more important. It's actually part of your building your skill set. So I like what you said about if you love being a traditional lawyer until you hit the ceiling. So maybe sort of talk about uh, sort of practical steps, like I just spoke about building the bridge. So if somebody
Of
wants to
course.
cross over into legal technology, like in terms of, I know you're there in the UK and we here in South Africa, but just generically, how would you go about sort of, even
Yeah, of
though,
course.
how would you go about building that bridge and sort of making the leap gradually? And
Yeah.
maybe not starting a business like you did, making a business of it, but maybe just transitioning to a firm that sort of specializes in that. So, like
Of
for a
course.
law student or for someone that's just fresh out of a training contract.
Yeah, so
Um,
there's lots of resources out there that you can use. Um, there's podcasts, so listen to podcasts, listen to people working in legal technology, find out kind of what they do and what their roles look like. There is lots of kind of like really good newsletters you can subscribe to all around legal technology. So just educate yourself. There's plenty of tools out there at the moment that will help. Um, one thing that I always recommend is starting to build your profile. So get on LinkedIn and start to follow people that work in legal technology that interest you. Find out about the different categories of legal technology. So there's, lots of different tools that do different things. If you're actually in a practice at the moment, doing a training contract, or you've just qualified and working in practice, every week, give yourself 5 minutes while you have a cup of coffee to think to yourself, what have I done this week that there must be a quicker, better way to do? And just jot those down and then start to investigate, is there legal technology tools out there that may help with those things? So it could be that you're putting the same information into 6 precedent documents and you're having to manually key in that information in 6 different places. It could be that you are answering a question for another lawyer in a different department and you get that same question every few weeks. Is there a way, so just start to think about what is it I do every day that feels like a bit of a waste of my time, and then start to investigate. Then you can speak to your team members. You can just try something out yourself. you can speak to your seniors and say, I think this is something that could help the firm. So while you're continuing to practice, while you're continuing to learn, you just start to be seen as that person who might find helpful, quick ways of doing things. And that curiosity and that interest, reaching out to people, seeing demonstrations of tools can open so many doors and avenues that might help you slowly find, either those doors that open or build that bridge.
Oh, brilliant. So I'm a big fan of just getting on with it. So if you love it, if you're passionate about it, you don't wait for someone to sign you up. You don't wait for someone to say, hey, come collaborate with me. You just get on with it. And myself, I find myself asking those questions, even though I'm not into legal technology, but I say, like, I had a bunch of PowerPoints to do this past week. And I said, I spend too much time on the PowerPoint. Like, I need to streamline the process. So I'm yet to go and figure out now how I need to streamline, how to sort of shorten my presentation preparation, how to gather information faster, or maybe map it out and then put it on the slide because I'm always thinking that I've left out stuff. So, I mean, that's a practical example from my end. And I,
That's a perfect example. And that is the type of thing that if it's something that they're doing in practice, legal practice, it's
yeah.
exactly that. It's just there must be a better way, and then go and research and find out that. And that is being a legal technologist. That's the start of what the job
Mm.
becomes.
Innovating the solution that no one has seen, or maybe building on a solution that someone else has
Exactly.
started. So I think if you just have that mindset, even, I want to make things better. I'm not going to wait for someone to find the solution for me. Let me try and help my industry. It sounds ambitious, it sounds big, but I want to solve this problem. And if I can maybe solve it for myself first, then if it's benefiting me, then I'm sure it can benefit the
One
industry.
lovely legal technology tool is called Definely. And the founder story of that is that it was a senior lawyer and a junior lawyer, and the senior lawyer was visually impaired.
Hmm.
And just in a conversation while they were doing a big contract review exercise, the junior lawyer said, how do you jump between, if it says the definition and then you've got to go to clause 5 and it says clause 5 says subject to clause 3.2, and then you've got to go over here. It says that's pain for me. You, as someone that's visually impaired, how do you negotiate that on screen? Must be difficult. And they solved the problem for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
for that one person, and then realized what they came up with would be useful for everyone, visually impaired or not, just by linking definitions and clauses, that you're not having to jump around a document. And what you do now is you hover over it and it shows you the reference clause on top of it. So that's an example of fix something for yourself, and you never know, you might then fix it for many, many, many people. And that's a hugely successful legal technology tool.
Yeah, yeah. That's, I mean, it's, and those things kind of, it just has a nice kind of a homely backstory to it. Then as a business also, it does wonders for the branding and the marketing. So maybe just to land the plane, I know it's a very short trip that we had, but we're going to land the plane very quickly, hoping we don't crash into the river. Um, but maybe just quickly talk about how you or what inspired you to get into business, because there's one thing that I've learned and it's made me sort of innovate sort of a business coaching type of curriculum is that lawyers don't know how to do business. So the fact that you firstly switched gears into another part of the field and then decided to go into business with that new, in that new space. So maybe just give the short version of how you felt or sort of what made you comfortable to do that. And of course, how you've been able to sustain it for the past 11 years.
A lot of people say to me, like, it was very brave to make the leap from the security of employment to running your own business. Um, but for me, there definitely felt like a bigger risk of wondering what if I never did? Um, and at the time, um, I didn't have a huge amount of outgoing. So I worked out, what will I need for the next 6 months? And also an exercise, it sounds quite morbid, but an exercise that I do regularly is when I'm thinking about whether or not to take a risk,
Mm,
is to go, what's the worst case scenario? And the
mm,
worst case scenario was that I didn't get enough clients and I'd have to get a job again. I'd been a lawyer for 4 years. It wasn't going to be difficult to get a job again. And if that was the worst case scenario, that wasn't so scary after all for me, really. I did have to, the first couple of months were a little bit on the edge of my seat because you're not going to get paid by a client for like kind of 30 days after you've done the work. So there was like the employment salary stops, and then there was like a month or 2 months where there was nothing coming in. Um, where very kindly, actually, a lawyer that I worked with who believed in me said, "Look, let me give you this small loan to cover you for the next month." And I said, "As soon as I get paid, I'll give it back." I've never forgotten that. It was £500, and that £500 was such a display of confidence
yeah.
from someone that didn't even know me that well. It wasn't a personal friend. It was a senior lawyer at the firm I worked with, who I just happened to mention, I'm not sure how I'm going to pay the mortgage next month. So um, yeah, I think just working out worst case scenario, working out what you need for the next few months. But the main thing that I did was make sure that I had the first couple of clients lined up. So I had already been sort of planning and like hustling away in the background before I took the leap. And actually my existing firm became a client. So when you leave somewhere,
Yeah.
have don't burn bridges. Make sure
Yeah.
you say, look, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to leave you high and dry. I can still help you and do a transition and train up the next person.
No, that's nice. Common sense, but mixed with a fair amount of um, faith or risk taking, which I think is crucial, is inevitable in any kind of business venture, whether you're doing it with partners or you're doing it on your own. Risk is there. And of course, planning, common sense, making sure you have stuff lined up, working out your budget, putting money away, saving, contingency, rainy day measures. It actually you reminded me of I was also when I was just I think just in my privilege. Um, and I was loaned money by someone that just took me under their wing, and I don't even remember if they said pay me back or not, but she didn't know me from above. So, and the first year as a barrister is understandably very difficult in terms of landing clients, and she just loaned me money. Like, it was like a lot of money still for me today. So, yeah, definitely those good Samaritans,
Amazing.
you
Pay it
know,
forward.
yeah, pay it forward, and sort of when you become famous or you become great, they become part of your story, which is like a random act of kindness. So
Love
yeah,
it. Random act of kindness. That's a nice note to to end things on. I love it.
yeah. So it was brief, but I think it was. I think there's. I don't think things need to be long for it to be substantial. Quantity is not quality. And we're talking about streamlining. So hopefully we've packed a lot of information into this episode. One of the shorter episodes, understandably, but still super, super grateful for us to finally sync our schedules and done
Yeah.
this. And of course, I'll probably get you back on maybe for a bit of a 45-minute type uh, that length of episode because there's definitely an emerging field, and I definitely want to cater to that and answer people's questions. And of course, connect people with people like yourself who they might not otherwise connect with um, or feel brave enough to connect with or even to listen to. So thank you, Catherine. And
Absolute pleasure. If anyone has any questions, please do follow me, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to answer any questions to anyone thinking of entering into this world.
okay, thank you everyone for listening. I hope this is a good episode and you can sort of give us your comments and um, say if you'd like sort of more legal tech guests. We'll certainly have Catherine back for a much longer episode. And maybe even get a playlist, who knows, a legal tech playlist on this podcast. So thank you everyone for listening, and thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. Bye.